So we are going to get into the topic of brand storytelling and how we can share our stories and formulate our brand story, our organization story, and in such a way that it is not for you, it's for them, and share the transformation that you're going to deliver to your audience, right? So if you're, and I'm going to pull up some slides here to kind of share this and bring this home, and excuse the off branding of this, because this is actually from my old business, so it's branded for that. Let me pull this up here. But a question for you guys before we get to this, and maybe Ray's actually heard this because this is coming from Donald Miller. If you are telling a story and you have two characters in that story, you have the hero and you have the guide, who are you in telling your brand story? Are you the hero or are you the guide? And shout it out if you feel
the guide.
You know the answer. You're the guide. Awesome, Carol. You're much smarter than I was when I started my marketing career.
Oh, no. It's taken me 20 years to figure that out. So yeah.
Ray, do you have I gave it away, but did anybody think about the hero? That you're the hero. Did you think that was the answer?
But that's not, but that's not going to be useful to sell to anyone else.
Yeah.
But most business owners think that they're the hero because they come in and save the day. Where you should be putting your customer as the hero. They're the hero piece and you're the guide that gets them there. So,
and that's
but
exactly
you'll be
it.
surprised how many business owners don't get that. They're like, no, I'm the hero. I show up. I make the day. I solve this problem. That's,
Knowing business owners, I can absolutely believe that they think they're heroes.
And you know what? It's totally fine to think that way. It's natural, right? It's actually our own behavior as people. We believe we are the hero in our own story, and we should be, right? And if we think that, your consumer, the people that you are, your audience thinks that as well, right? And so they need to be the hero, and we need to be that guide. Has anybody? And I am like several slides into this, so I need to go to the beginning of this because I was playing around with this. And again, just think of this as like an old presentation that I was giving to people in my industry and possible clients and prospects in a branding agency, trying to help people to understand the importance of storytelling in our efforts as a marketing and getting our message out there, right? So if we are the hero, they are the guide, we should be essentially helping. Has anybody heard of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, or A Hero with a Thousand Faces? Okay, awesome. Yep. And in The Hero of a Thousand Faces, this is like long format storytelling that everybody pretty much uses in movies and so forth. But there's some core components of storytelling that allows us to use it in the psychology of really where story comes from. It comes from our, here, I'm going to go to this real quick. It comes from our psychology, our inner emotional behavior and thoughts, right? That's where story comes from. That's where it lives. And if we use story, let's just take like the story of Christ, the story of not Gandhi, Buddha, right? All of these great stories in mythology, they carry with it lots and lots of information in an emotional, in an impactful way. And honestly, we can't make any decisions without having emotion, right? The logical side of our brain, the neocortex, actually doesn't have the capacity to make a decision. It can weigh decisions, but it can't make decisions. And where we make decisions is in our limbic brain, which is where story exists, where imagery exists. And this is why when we start to tell a story, all of these different things come up. It conveys the logical emotion. It conveys the logical side of things in an emotional way where we can make decisions on it. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to help people to make a decision on something, whether it's your product or service, or it is a outcome that they are looking to have. We're helping them to come to a conclusion by telling them a story. And we can tell a story in many different ways. The best way is to tell it over time in every single piece of message, every message that you have, right? So it's true long format branding and true long format storytelling is when each interaction that you have with someone tells a bit of the story, right? So we're going to get into this a little bit more, but just for some fun, let's think about it. How many marketing messages did someone get in a single day in the 70s? Do you think?
5?
In a day? 5 in a day. Okay, in the 70s. Anybody lower, higher?
Yanni says 100.
100? Who does?
Yeah.
Yanni?
5,
Okay.
500.
500. Okay, wow.
70s.
Okay. There we go. The marketer knew.
Oh,
500 marketing messages. How many in 2006 do you think? And this is actually Wall Street in 2006.
Yanni says 10,000.
10,000? It's pretty good.
yeah, I'd probably second that.
Okay. Little less, 5,000. But what do you think it is? This is a study in 2017. And this is, people on phones. This is actually a bus behind us in the background.
One more page, we'll have 10.
15 to 20,000. I can only imagine that it's gotten a little bit more than that, right? 15 to 20,000. And I didn't believe this in the beginning. I didn't believe the statistic. And so what I did is I drove. I think, well, actually someone else was driving, good thing. We were driving to our daughter's dance recital, and I was picking out all the messages just from just under an hour drive. Okay, down into Salt Lake City from more of a suburban area, right? And I counted 500 messages on that way, marketing messages, original, not the same message, right? And it was actually during elections, I think, when this was happening, local elections. So there was a lot of that going on, but there was a lot of messages, right? How do we break out of that noise? Well, we just talked about it. It's story, and telling stories, what it does, there's all of this noise going on. And it really, what it comes down to is it's like everybody's throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing if it sticks. And we're all doing this all at the same time and with our messages, right? And it's creating a lot of noise. And this noise isn't getting past because there's this logical banter. There's all of these different things going on. Some of it is sticking, but there's a lot of it that's not. Really what it comes down to is there's 3 problems that are happening that storytelling actually encompasses all 3 of these as we tell our story. And the first is knowing the ideal customer, who we're telling a story to, right? Who we are as a brand, and what our product is. And the product is actually the transformation in that story, right? So when we're telling a story, and I can give you these slides if you guys want them as well. Our mission, so I should be telling a story in this this is meant to be me telling a story right now, but I'm actually just giving you the logics behind it. This really is kind of the 3 secrets of your messaging, is to get a clear and compelling messages for your brand that will break out of the noise through storytelling, is kind of that first. And the second, because I'm going to skip over and give you an overview first. The second is to separate yourself from your competitors through a charismatic brand, being the authentic guide, right? So if you can figure that out, and then third, where's my third? This is supposed to be a really long presentation. Does this look familiar, Ray? The Y circles?
Yes. What they call it? Is it the golden cone or golden circle? I don't know.
I forget what he actually calls it, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Goodness, I missed the third one. But the third one is
Just
knowing what your product's transformation, right? And identifying your product's transformation. And so those 3 are.
So do you mean
get
what
those
your product would transform for the hero?
Yes, for the hero.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And if you can get those 3 in your messaging, you really get it. You get it to a point where you no longer really have to tell a story. The story tells itself, right? Because your audience will start telling the story for you, and your story is truly authentic, and it just becomes you sharing different pieces of that journey for them, of the hero, their pain, their problem, you as an authentic guide, and the transformation that you're completing for them, right? So Omar Johnson, he's the former CMO of Beats, and I think he's actually now, because Beats got bought by Disney, he's now a marketing director in Disney, right? One of the marketing executives at Disney. So I got to go to a conference where he was talking, and I was putting my hand up because he asked, and I was shouting out this answer. He asked the question, what is the 3 most important things? And in order, what are the 3 most important things to your marketing, your message, and your brand, right? And he said those three same things. It's your people, it's your brand story, and it's your product, the transformation, right? Your people, your brand story, and your product. And he said those in that order. And what I was saying was story, 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 right? But why would it be your people first? Why would people be your first thing, not your story?
Because the story follows the people that we want to talk to. We have to pick stories that resonate with them. Yeah,
because you don't have a story if you don't first understand your people, right? Or you're telling the wrong story. What's that?
You need a listener.
You need a listener. Yeah, you need a listener to hear the story. You have no hero.
You're trying to solve their pain point, right? It's not about you; it's about them.
Yeah, and this is where we often get so caught up in the. How do you think it usually happens in a business? I'll tell you what it's been in the last several businesses that I've had it prior. It's been about product first, right? I've thought about the transformation, the product, and what I was trying to create first before I even thought about the people, right? And I worked backwards from it. There's a lot of stories of this. It's not just Omar Johnson saying this. This is like something that's Steve Jobs, after one of the biggest lessons that he learned coming back from coming back to Apple and having learned storytelling from Pixar. Does anybody know what happened when Steve Jobs was gone from Apple during that period of time? One of the biggest things that's kind of changed his mindset. So he actually purchased Pixar. Everybody knows Pixar, right? He purchased Pixar. And what does Pixar do? Animation, storytelling, right? And what he learned is that we're always telling a story to our users, right? And if we're not creating that story for our users, there is no story to begin with, right? And so when he came back, it was all about the user experience. He kept on saying this. It was all about understanding who our people were, and on a very deep, in a very intimate way, right? The first ad that came out after he came back, there was no product offering in it. There was no actual hint of the product. If you remember, it was I can't remember the name of it. Think Differently campaign, right? Think different or be different. What was the actual words, Em?
I think it's
think different.
differently.
Yeah, think different. And it was just remember the game changers, the troublemakers. If you remember this ad that was placed, it just had a bunch of people. It had Mahatma Gandhi. It had all of these famous people that were rebels and creative types.
It's in the chat now. Yep.
Yeah.
I just popped the link to YouTube. It's really cool. Oh, you don't have to, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
You can watch it. It's great. But it's such a significant change in thought that he had before, because when he got fired, he really needed to get fired and learn all these things, right? You need to learn storytelling, and you need to learn that it was all about the user, because he created the Lisa right before he left, right? And the Lisa was a computer that failed. And what failed in it is when it was released, there was not one mention of the transformation or who that was for. It was a list of tech specs of the computer, right? And that's all that was there. And it was all about the product. And change that, fast forward that to after he learned about storytelling and after he learned about the customer's experience, he then changed the sequence of what those three big pieces are to I'm going all over the place here. Understanding the ideal customer, writing the brand story, and creating the product's transformation, right? And if we put that in a story framework, this is what it looks like. So if this looks a little familiar to you, you might have seen this in the hero's journey explained by Joseph Campbell, where he talks about a hero. This is also very similar to StoryBrand, who's another thought leader in this storytelling and branding effort. And he kind of wrote the book on it called StoryBrand.
Literally
Literally
wrote the book on it.
Literally wrote the book on it. But basically what he did is he simplified the hero's journey into a marketing a format, a way to talk to your audience. And what it looks like is a hero wants something, right? That's where we start out here. A hero always wants something, but they have a problem in that want. And the problems that they want, there's usually about three parts to that problem. There's an emotional side of that problem and an internal part of that problem. There's an external part of that problem. And there's a philosophical part of that problem. And the external is usually what we come up with right off the bat, right? External being, let's just say, if I am a businessman looking for sales and my problem is I need to get sales, that is the external problem, right? I need to get sales. But if the internal, the emotional problem, is really how that makes them feel, right? And if I understand that and I can say that, I go deeper into their psyche and I can better understand and attach the problem to their want and desire and help them make a decision on it, right? The philosophical is even deeper than that. What are the belief structures that are either helping them or hindering them from accomplishing what they want, right? And all of this right here, my people, is the first part of the story. I don't ever say something to a client or someone that I'm talking to about myself until I've talked about them, right? And a lot of times when you see most messaging out there, I'll tell you, what does it usually look like? It looks like a bunch of people flexing their arms, right? Look at us. We're the number one. We've done this, we've done that. I've worked with this client. I've worked with this client. We've done this project. We've done this project, right? And no one wants to hear it. Not until you've talked about their want, their challenges, and going deep into those. Going deep into the external challenge, the internal challenge, and their philosophical belief structures, right? And if I can understand those and they believe that I understand, then I can start telling a new part of the story. And that next part of the story is meeting you as a guide, as a credible guide, someone that can help them and solve their challenges. So in a hero's journey format, the hero with a problem meets a guide, and this is where we start to introduce ourselves. And this is the first time that we introduce ourselves, right? Is when we've shown them that we understand the hero, them, and we give them an opportunity to listen to a plan for solving their problem. So hero will meet a guide, and then that guide, you will offer a plan to them. What is that plan? And make sure it's not this like 20-page dissertation, right? That you can clearly share with them in 3 steps what your plan is, right? Go ahead, Em.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I
just think it's also
Hold on, let me mute myself.
okay. I think it's also really important to acknowledge the fact that your 3-step plan is in addition to the personality that you're bringing to the table, the branding personality that you're bringing to the table. Because in that Think Differently campaign, one of the big things that Steve Jobs brought to the table was this personality. He had his archetypes nailed. He had his personality. Not only do I know what role you're going to play, I know what character you're playing. Not just a guide, but what kind of guide? Are you this like rebellious, spunky guide? Are you this like caretaking guide? You know what I mean? Like nailing that personality of the brand. And I know this isn't like the branding thing, but that's a huge part here. So it hits their emotional side. Yeah, I need a guide, but do I like my guide? Is my guide like me? Or maybe they have something that I don't, some type of personality difference. Sorry, I just,
No, that's perfect.
because that's where I love to spend it be in the branding space, is that personality side. And that's super important here to hook them. Not only am I your guide, but I'm also the guy next door. I'm your friend, or I'm the hero, or whatever. Like there's an emotional need that you're filling as well. That's all. Thanks, Emily. I have a question, if it's okay to ask a question right now.
Yes. And as it comes up, always ask questions.
So it was clear for me if I think about like different shoe brands, for example, right? So like if we like people will buy Nike for different reasons compared to other brands, right? And they because the brand story is different. But what about like us as product? Like because we are entrepreneurs and we sell ourselves as the product. Do we actually try to like package ourselves differently or dress differently because we try to be this guide for them? Yes. So, oh man, personal branding, guys. Oh, okay.
Try
I'm
not
trying
to
not to
run
run away with the train here. As entrepreneurs, personal branding is a huge thing because you are part of the brand story. You need to have that personality. What role are you fulfilling for them? And it's not, this is really important. It is not making yourself into something that you're not. It is taking what you already are and showing that even more. Does that make sense? Really like emphasizing that to make it really apparent that your personality is authentic. So you're never feeling like you're faking it or anything. But if you can get that personality out in your personal branding, that will make all the difference in a sale, because you're going to fit. It's like, think of all your friends. You have friends with different personalities. Sure, there's like shoe brands. Okay, I just need something to cover my feet. Sure, their brand story is different, but how does it make me feel? What is their personality? What is their role in my life? And so you're going to fill a role in their life. So you might, I wouldn't want to say dress differently, because that sounds like you're dressing not how you would normally dress, but to emphasize that. For example, and I know we're totally not getting into archetypes, but oh man, guys, I could go on for days about archetypes.
We could, if we spend enough time on this, it would eventually get into archetypes.
Yeah. That may be for another day. But if you can nail down your, start with your why, always start with your why. And then if you can identify what archetypes you just naturally are, you can emphasize those. Like, for example, if you are someone who, carries yourself, you carry yourself well, you talk very eloquently, you have lots of grace and poise, maybe you're kind of more that royal, just character, dressing in certain colors or in certain ways will emphasize that, but it's already your natural personality, right? But you can use archetypes to expand upon your personality so that you do fit an emotional role in people's lives.
So real quick to add to that,
Let me see what archetype it is.
does everybody understand the concept
Oh,
of an
is there
archetype?
an archetype assessment tool?
Carol was asking.
Oh, yes. We actually created one in our branding agency. I can send you that one, but it is going to be a lead gen for my old partner. So do you want to mute yourself real quick?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
The
A fake name and a fake email.
Yeah, however you want to do it. And Austin's a great guy. It was just not the best partnership, right? So if you want help from my old partner, that's fine. And you can definitely, he will probably reach out to you, is all I'm going to say. If that's or K Putton. I like K Putton's.
I'll put in them.
Do you want to put K's or because K's does well enough? I still think ours is the one that we created was better. And Emily had a lot of input on that one. She was our archetype gal. But anyways, archetypes are this second part. It is you as this guide. And that's one thing that when you're creating a brand and you're creating the story for that brand, if you aren't authentic in the way that you present yourself, people are going to see that really quickly, right? And what archetypes will allow you to do is to frame yourself in a way that is authentic to you, but also is easily recognized by your hero, by your people, right? Because there is, how many archetypes are there? The Hero and the Outlaw is a great book that really goes over these archetypes, but there's 10 archetypes that are well distinguished in storytelling and in almost every brand that you look at, every story character that you read in a book fit one of these 10 different archetypes, right? And so if you're using archetypes in your branding, what that's allowing you to do is make sure that people can easily pick up on the already inherent character pieces that are within your personality or the business's personality, which a lot of times it's the founders that put these forth. Like Steve Jobs resonated with creatives because he was a creative, right? And he was that archetype, the creative archetype. And that was very authentic to him, and people resonated with that. He was a creative magician. If I were to say Steve Jobs was more of a creative magician, right? And those are two archetypes that are really prevalent in storytelling, in character development. So what we're doing here is, this is really, the story's journey here. And we're figuring out the different pieces of the story so that we can start to tell it. This is our messaging, right? We're telling a story, we're going along, and we are having ourselves distinguished as a guide, understanding what our archetypes are, and presenting a plan. And the plan really is how do we used to put it? Give it better. It was a lot easier to understand it. I haven't given this presentation in a very long time. The plan is the go between you and your product, right? And if you can explain the plan in such a way, it should actually share what the transformation is in a more logical. It should hit both sides of your brain. It should hit the logical and satisfy the storytelling, the emotional side of things, right? And so, very simplistic, but what you're doing is you're showing where they are right now and helping them to see, if I were to take these simple steps, logically, I could have this type of transformation. So if I'm called to action on this, and what it essentially should do as well is help you to come to an epiphany. And in storytelling, it's who calls it the Epiphany Bridge? What's his name? ClickFunnels. Do you know ClickFunnels, Ray? What's the ClickFunnels guy?
Russell Brunson.
Russell Brunson. Yeah. So he termed it. I don't know if he coined it, but someone else coined it. The Epiphany Bridge story, and it's actually used in sales quite a bit. And basically, up until this point, this hero's journey, we're just helping them to have a light bulb come on in their head and think differently, right? And what this is doing, going back to their problems, it's helping them to go deeper into not just their external problem. I need to make money, or I have some type of pain. I'm getting burned, right? And so I need an ointment to help my burn, or whatever it is. But it makes me feel a certain way, right? I'm feeling whatever. That's the internal. And going even deeper, the philosophical is helping the epiphany. As we help them to have an epiphany, it helps them to dive deeper into the false belief structures that they are having, right? And so if I'm telling and I'm helping you to come to some type of understanding and epiphany, I'm overcoming false belief structure, right? And your false belief structure is a part of who you are, and it's a part of the problem that you bring into your circumstance, right? And so as a hero goes through this, you're diving deeper into their psychology of why they would follow you or why they would take action on something. And they actually have to have an epiphany, a breakdown, and the guide usually has to give them that in order for them to be called to action on something. And this is like story structure 101. If you're watching a story, like, you have to almost have this epiphany before you buy into any story, right? If you're watching Star Wars, if you're watching some other thing, you have to buy into and understand the underlining epiphany of what if it's, let's just say Star Wars, good versus evil is the philosophical belief, right? You have to buy in that there is a need for good to triumph over evil, right? You have to have that epiphany. You have to believe in that epiphany before you actually go along with Luke Skywalker and want to know what his journey is what his journey is going to be. And if you're taking yourself through this story emotionally, you have to have an epiphany before you buy off on the guide that's helping you realize your journey and your transformation, right? So we identify what the epiphany is, or you help them to come to that epiphany, and then you call them to action. And what are you calling them to action on? The plan that you have put forth, right? And it helps them to understand what success looks like. And then we give them, the success leads to some type of transformation that we're showing, right? And we're having blend, okay. And then we come back to becoming a hero. We come back to where the hero started off in the beginning, but a realized hero now. Luke Skywalker is now a Jedi, right? And your client has now come back around to a realized state, a conscious state of what their problem is, what their problem was, and having gone through that journey, and now they can essentially become the guide, right? They are the advocate, and we can now allow them to advocate for you and tell the story themselves, right? On your behalf. And that's basically what we're doing in our marketing messages. And it follows those three pieces that we started off with: our people, your brand, and the story your brand is telling, and your product, right? The transformation. And if we look at these last three pieces, what your product is showing them is what success looks like, right? Your product should be showing them the transformation that they desire and how to achieve that transformation, how they're achieving that, not how to, but what it looks like to achieve that transformation, right?
So
that is, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Andrew.
Oh.
Call to action. So one thing I see in a lot of websites, so just purely from a technical point of view, is that the marketing their aim is to get you up to that call to action. But from a sensible branding point of view, you sort of got to lead them through all that journey first to get up to a call to action before it works.
So great question, Andrew. When we're telling these stories, we do it on a long form view, right? And we do it on a short form view. So if you notice this on, let's just take a website, for example. Like if we were to look at Seeds of Tao website, or any website that's built effectively for people to take action on, it's telling a story on the short form, right? But we're going through all these different pieces. So if I go, and maybe I will share that real quick. Let's double check and see if we're practicing what we preach, right? Go to Seeds of Tao and bring this up. Where do I start, right? In the hero's journey. I start with the person, right? My hero. So above the fold, this is called above the fold. Everything that you see immediately when you hit the page is above the fold. It's an old marketing term that actually goes from magazines or newspapers, is what you first see. And if you're telling a story in a short format, it is actually going to be the hero, right? That wants something and has a problem, right? Let's see if that follows this. Your path beyond sustainability, right? I'm talking to them. Who are they? They're people, they're permies, they're people that are exploring something beyond sustainability a lot of times. They might not even know about permaculture yet. And they maybe have a goal a vision for accomplishing the different projects that they're on, right? So I'm talking to them first, and I'm not bringing up anything about myself. I'm not saying we're the number one in whatever. I'm not doing that. But I'm allowing them to really understand that I'm talking to them, right? And usually you have here's another quick tip on call to actions. You have a short form, or you have a short pass and a long ticket, right? If I'm going to go on the longer journey with you and I have no idea about you, you're going to want like an opt-in that's going to take you through a longer form of that story, right? And if they're like ready to buy because they've been already talking with you or whatever, you want the call now button, right? And what does that look like, right? So you have a product offering or something, and you have that's what it is, a slow lane and a fast lane for them to go through the story, right? And you could do that on your site. So fast lane is, here's the Pando Online Academy. It's a purchase that they would make on site if they would like, right? Or they can go the slow way and go through my opt-in process, and I can tell that story a little bit slower and go through that piece. Does that make sense, Andrew? Of kind of the slow and the fast and the short and long form storytelling?
Yeah, because you've got the limited amount of time to get someone in. So yeah, you need to still get them onto the path, onto the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so just scrolling down the website, it should be telling a part of the story. A hero that wants something. They want a better future. They want effective change. They want to create impact. And that's what we're sharing with them. And then we share with them a quick plan, right? To build personal and community harmony. And we show them this diagram. And we're still identifying who they are, right?
Yeah. Lots of you and we wording.
Yes, exactly. And in this one, I'm not actually trying to get them to do a short call to action. I'm trying to drag them through a longer story because a lot of people don't know us yet, right? So I'm mostly doing opt-ins and trying to figure out and tell the longer story. So I'm really only telling the first part of the story. But on a lot of websites, you can take them through the entire hero's journey just on the main page, right? And you can do that really quickly. But it depends on what your main objective is for the piece of content that you're working on. This is mostly an awareness page, right? Helping them to gain more awareness and to do that first part of the hero's journey with the people, helping them to identify their problem, understanding that I understand their problem, and showing them who we are as a guide, right? And then we can start to show them our plan and help them to come to an epiphany as we shared this part. Does that answer your question, Andrew?
Yep, no, that was good.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Let me drop here for just a second. Because now that we have an understanding of the story structure, that is actually like it's the foundation that everything kind of sits on, right? But if we just have this foundation, well, maybe I should share this real quick if I can. I'm going out of order on this, but decision. Okay, here we go. Does anybody understand the awareness, consideration, decision, or like a marketing funnel? How that kind of looks? Carol understands it. Ray understands this. I know Emily does. MP, have you seen this before? Or something like it?
Yeah, something like it. I totally understand this.
Andrew, this is new to you?
I've come across the marketing funnel before, but not those phrasings.
Okay.
So fairly new, yes.
Okay. So really there's three phases of the marketing funnel before they actually make a purchase. And there's one large one after they made the purchase, which is advocacy. And if we're looking at the story, and it's those three pieces that we mentioned above, our marketing funnel is actually awareness is this part, right? A hero with a problem that meets a guide. The consideration, we're only building awareness in this area of that we understand them, that we know their problem, and bringing awareness sometimes is often helping them to understand more fully their own problem, because they don't often understand it on the emotional and psychological, deep value-based understanding of it. So we're helping them to bring understanding awareness in this first part of the funnel. And then as we get into the consideration part of the funnel, where we start building content that's helping them to show the plan that we have for them and understand and help them to have an epiphany around that, to be called to action. That is the middle part of the funnel. And it's where they spend most of the time, actually. In awareness, it's really quick. They can identify their needs, understand their problem and what they want relatively quick. But then we got to spend quite a bit of time explaining to them who we are, why we're important to helping them solve that problem, and basically how we're going to help them to solve that problem. So we spend a lot of time in consideration, and then we move on to decision, where this decision content that we're creating is, and let me go back to different pieces of content as well. So awareness content is a lot of how they're feeling, getting to understand them, sharing who they are. And consideration content is a lot of the kind of how you're doing it, and the process for helping them to receive the transformation. And decision is largely showing them what the transformation looks like. So this is testimonials. This is a lot of testimonial content that lingers in here, outlined in a way that that helps them to be called to action, show the success, and really define the pieces of what the product offering is giving to them in a transformation. So instead of features and benefits, what we're sharing with them is what this looks like once we've given them, or once they've started to take action on the call to action and receive some of the benefits from it. It's the feeling behind it. That's what the transformation is, right? It's the feeling. It's what they get afterwards on the emotional and physical levels, right? And that's what the content is that we're creating in that piece. And then advocacy is largely built up of the advocacy content after they become the hero and they're helping others to go through this same process. It's community building, right? And it's understanding how to allow your community to create content that is telling this story without them trying to deviate. Well, it's a very difficult thing. They have to be, I don't want to use this word, but I am going to use it, indoctrinated almost into your story. By the time they reach that hero point, that realized hero, and they've gone through that hero's journey and they're a part of your community, they should have gone through this process so well that they inherently know your story or understand it well enough that they bring people through it, right? So it's about getting these pieces of content right before and done well before they actually have that transformation and become this realized hero, so that they can then naturally bring people through that same process in advocacy content, which largely exists on your community networks, right? Facebook groups, the Slack channel that we're building, those types of things. They should already understand this story on almost on a subconscious level, right? They don't need to know the different pieces of it, but they've gone through the story and they believe in it so much that they're just going to tell it themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. An example I was just thinking of is like the white earbuds for your Apple phones. That's just a good advertiser that, oh yes, I have an Apple product. Someone says, oh, do you like your phone? Oh yeah, it's awesome. They don't need to like consciously care about the Apple product, but they're acting as an advertiser anyway.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Apple's a great example of, the community side of it, where they will wait outside lines for days, and you can tell them why they're doing it, and they'll say things like, "Oh, because I'm a creative, because I'm a creative person," and they just totally hook, line, and sinker built. Are just telling and restating the story that Steve Jobs had created, right? That if you want to be a game changer, if you want to have this type of transformation, you need to have an Apple, right? And you in order to have that transformation, it's got to be an Apple. And so that's what we're trying to create. Now, if you think about this on our projects that we're creating, like if we can get this right for regeneration and for permaculture, we're telling a story of transformation of the earth and understanding and greater connection with people, with ourselves and the earth, right? And we're telling this hero's journey of sorts to help people come to that same type of transformation, right? On a larger scale, that's the bigger story and narrative that we're trying to tell all together. So this is the framework, and I mentioned, there's the better slide for it. This is the framework, the story circle. Now this piece that I'm trying to share with.
There's one of those pictures just keeps zooming past and I keep wondering what it is, but you go past so fast I never see it.
Is it this one?
No, it's fine. It looks like a bolt on a rifle, and I was thinking, why is that there? I'm sure it's not that, but
oh, yeah, we don't have to get into that one.
no.
But if you have this framework here of the story, right, and you only have this, you just really have a pretty marketing funnel, is what it looks like, right? And you have the components of it, you have the content pieces. That's all fine and dandy, and it will help you to move people along your funnel that you've created. But if this is all you have, you're severely missing out on the storytelling side of it, because we're missing out on character development, right? In a story, we really follow story because a lot of times because of the characters that are in it, right? We follow because of Luke. We follow because of Obi-Wan Kenobi, because of the girl on fire, right? Whatever. We just got done watching Hunger Games. We care about the heroes. And so it's character development that will actually build your story into a natural story, right? So we have the structure, the foundation, which is the story structure. Now we need to go in and define our characters. And how do we do that, right? We do that by going into, and this is a little bit different than I think Ray is probably familiar with on marketing, but we start with the identity of your brand first, right? So when we are developing our character, we can't necessarily, we have to start off with ourselves first before we should understand who we're making this for to some degree on a true north level, right? But when we're actually starting to create the story and the content around the story, if we don't understand the brand itself first, we are at risk of being inauthentic. And here's why. if Steve Jobs were to create stuff for I'm trying to think of something that's off-brand for Steve Jobs. Someone that is just off. What, do you have it?
Selling something cheap.
Something cheap, yeah. If
Like
he were to
Target
go
or
after,
Walmart.
Dollar Tree.
like if he were to do the Walmart thing, right? Value, cheap, or lowest price, right? That's against his character, right? And if he defined his identity and brand around what he thought the market wanted before he actually defined himself first and what he was presenting, he would have lost track, right? He would have not hit the mark and he would have been inauthentic. And if you're doing cause marketing and you're creating something that is actually for creating an impact, you're not going after just the people, right? You want to go after people that resonate with who you are and understand you on a deeper level. So you need to identify who you are, your identity, and this goes to brand archetype, right? Something that they can clearly see. So showing yourself as a clearly understanding creative for Steve Jobs, since Steve Jobs is a good example, a creative, a magician, someone that likes to share transformations, and really identifying our archetype and then going into our purpose, right? So, and this is where it's a little different, Ray, from Simon Sinek, is we start with who we are, our brand archetype, and then we move into our why, our purpose, and then we share what our unique strengths are, and then we share our plan, right? We define what our plan is, and that's the what. And if you look at this is like an onion, and what is Shrek? What's the donkey on Shrek say? People are like onions, right? We're tearing away at the onion. We're going deeper, but we want to start off deep and we want to go out to the outward layers. We start off with who we are, then we move into our why, and then we share our hows, values, and those types of things, and what it is. And that's what what your character is made out of, right? That's how we share the brand's character without actually having them actually see a face-to-face conversation, right? This is how Nike will be able to share the character, or Harley Davidson, right? Who's more of this rebel and it can resonate on that rebel side of things. Inherently just shares that feeling, is because they understand deeply their character, and they have identified that and developed it. So this is the character development. Then once we understand and we define these pieces, here's the examples actually. So who Apple is an innovator, designers who disrupt the status quo. That's who they are. Beats is artistic leaders who move the culture forward. Nike is inspirational athletes who perform. Warby Parker, their glasses. I'm actually wearing their glasses right now. And they are caring disruptors who create and design glasses. And then we want to define our whys. And here's some, Apple's why. To make a contribution, this is actually their mission statement, I think, at some point. To make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. They've moved away from that, and it's unfortunate that they have. And I think they're still living on a lot of their past branding, which is why they still do so well. But their why was really strong, and it drove their hows. And that's what your whys should do. Your hows are, here's another Stephen Covey quote, or a Stephen Covey theory as well, or framework. There's a difference between personality and character, right? Character is actually you showing up and doing stuff, right? And your hows are going to do that. They're going to show your character. There are things like in Apple, the beautifully designed, the well-designed products show their why of making a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind, right? It was how they did it. It shares their character. This gives the character depth when you're telling a story, right? And this comes across in your messaging and everything that you, from everything to the people that you pick for your advertisements, the voice that you use, the people that write your content are all going to be able to clearly share the brand's identity, right? And understand, and they will understand these hows to be able to write content, to be able to be the actor, the voice, the talent for your videos and so forth. And then what is simply the plan. Now, Apple, for just one of their pieces of content, for the advertising of what's that colorful, the Apple One? Was it no, it wasn't the Apple One. The iMac, the first iMac. Remember the colorful one? It was, who was the guy that did the ad? He talks Jurassic Park. What's his name? He plays in Jurassic. What's that?
Steven Spielberg?
No, that's the director. The actor.
Something Parker. Is it something Parker?
Oh, I can't remember. He also played in one of his more recent ones is Thor Ragnarok. You're looking it up, Ray.
You mean Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum,
yes.
Right? Think of his voice, Jeff Goldblum, right? First, you plug it in. Second, you connect it. Third, there is no step three. There is no step three, right? And what does that signify? If I follow up the ladder of like the hows, beautifully designed products, simple to use, user friendly, it fits right into their character, right?
You don't need a manual. I think that's their tagline as well. You don't need a manual to use our products.
Yes, you don't need a manual. That was one of
intuitive.
Yeah, it's so intuitive. And then their why, to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind, right? It fits all into everything that they are and who they are. So they worked their way and created a multi-layered character. And this is very, very much intentional. This is story, right? This is what we're trying to create in our brand and in our messaging. So the brand circle goes into, let's skip over this piece. I didn't get rid of, I was trying to clean up some of these slides, but I didn't have enough time. So now we have the hero, right? And identifying who the hero is. And character development for this hero. What it looks like, you don't have to go as deep, but you have to go pretty deep into who this character is. But the who should match your who, right? Largely, here's something really cool. Why does everybody and their mother want a Mac? It's not because everybody and their mother is a creative or resonates as being a creative. It's because they so deeply hit and impacted the emotional side of someone that emotion just went over and overwhelmed their grandma. And now grandma wants an apple as well, right? So everybody and their grandma wants an apple because they hit so hard at the core of that person. And you can't hit at the core of someone, especially if you are an impact generated business. If you are creating something because you believe in it and you have a cause for it, you have to resonate with them authentically with who you are, with who they are, and that has to line up. And if you hit that right, and you create the messaging that really hits them deeply, it will inherently hit other people just by the feeling alone, because everybody wants to feel. We are all human beings, and that's what connects us, is the feeling. So if you hit someone deep enough with the right character development, and it resonates with them and who they are, you're going to inherently hit the other people around them, for the sheer fact that they're going to share it. They're going to bring that emotion to the people around them. And so we start off with who we are and who they are, and those align. And then these are the three pieces of the problem that I mentioned, right? And the philosophical, which is basically the theme of your story, the internal, which is the emotional problem, and the physical, which is the external. Now, so Apple's who? Creatives. They speak to creatives who want to create impact, right? Because they are creatives. But then, because you can really only see the external problem when you're in the thick of it for your clients, you start with the external. Though you understand the deep philosophical and false belief structures and belief structures, if I don't know that I need a device to create things, right? If I'm not resonating on that first, then I can't go deeper with them, right? I can't go into understanding that it's frustrating how to use a computer, right? To create things. I just want to create something, but it's so frustrating to create things with a computer. And that's what they're trying to go at, right? It's that deeper emotional feeling problem, part of the challenge. And then the belief structure is the true belief. Here's the true, it's between true and false beliefs. You want to identify the true belief first that you're trying to help them to obtain through the story. And the true belief is you think different, right? You're a different type of thinker. The false belief structure is all of those things are that are hindering them from thinking that true belief, from having that epiphany. And here's where the epiphany comes in as well. So if I can help them to think different or buy off on you think different, right? But naturally, as human beings, if I'm a creative and I'm really resonating as a creative person, there's all of these false belief structures that are standing in my way of really truly believing in something that I truly believe, right? And this is just like psychology, right? That we're talking about here. I need to tear down all those false belief structures for anybody to get past that. And that's what your story is helping them to do. And you're helping them to have an epiphany around that. And so as I complete the character, the hero's character, your clients or your customer, that's the layers of what you're defining there. You're defining their true beliefs and the false beliefs that are attached to them. You're defining their internal emotional challenges that they're having in regards to the problems that they're having, and you're identifying the external challenge that they're having in relation to what you solve, right? Is that making sense? I know that's a lot to put in there. Great. Any questions here? This is a case example of a client that we were working with.
My only asterisk to all this would be that you need to start with something and not wait for all this to be perfect before you do anything, because I feel like this could definitely get in the way of actually launching, not in the way, in a bad way, but without a feedback loop of taking something to market and then iterating. Like Apple didn't wake up one day and have this all perfect and nailed. Like
no,
it took lots of shortfalls and failures and mishaps. And like you mentioned before, the Lisa computer, like you need to hit the publish button, create feedback loops, and then polish this. And in my opinion, this should be like a work in progress document that you always have those aha moments, and you modify it, or you go, oh, there's a whole complete new archetype. Let's go and create another brand messaging that matches this journey. So I don't know, I just wanted to say that because I can see sometimes that it can get in the way of actually launching a product because you feel like you don't have all this sorted and this nice pathway. Farming Secrets has been running for 12 years and we still don't have this ship sorted. So, and I'm a marketing guru who knows all this stuff and agree with it all and still don't get it done, so.
And this is, and I should say this as well, this is one piece of your marketing that's going on all the time, right? That should be constantly going. And the three pieces that are constantly going within your marketing, like the tasks that you're working on, is first strategy. You should always be strategizing, right? And this is all strategy that we're talking about here. This is brand strategy, and this will help you shave off years in your marketing and messaging if you start to have an awareness of this and you start building your strategy for how you're creating content. You're not just throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks up against the wall. You have a strategy, a thought of what needs to be there, though you're probably not going to get it right for the first 5,000 times, right? So, and exactly what Ray said, just get started. Have an awareness of what and outline what your strategy is going in, but this is what I would say on the other side of what Ray just said. Don't just throw stuff up on the wall because you need to get content out. Don't just write the blog post because you need a blog post for that day, right? Have a strategy behind it. And that's what we're talking about here. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. So I've been doing the work that I do for 20 plus years, and I'm telling you guys like an admission, I have never had a website. I know it sounds crazy. And I just have evolved. I have tons of clients, have, tons of work I've done. But I want to focus what I'm doing. And so that's really what I'm, about at this point. And so I know this is a little crazy, but so about 6 months ago, this idea of I need to tell the hero's journey in my work came through in my world, right? I get these, like, the universe sends me these love notes, and that was one of them. And so here I am doing it. And so I'm just going to declare that this is my MOKR. I'm supposed to do this, so I'm going to do this. And I am going to create a website at the end of this that then helps attract whoever it is I'm supposed to be working with, because I'm not really clear on that. Not because I don't know who my client is. I mean, I've worked, my clients are, I got big clients. I want to make a difference. And so I think to make that difference, I need to get clearer on this, and I need to create this story. So I'm willing to be the guinea pig in all of this to do that, because I think I'm somehow supposed to do that. And I'm realizing that I need to adjust a little bit. Like, I want to present myself a little differently. I have the chance to do that now. Why not? And really kind of work with certain types of people and types of systems. So I love the presentation that you gave us. This is so incredibly helpful. And so I just want to say that both Josh and Emily, what you're giving here, and I get that this is an amalgamation of a lot of marketing and branding, expertise and advice and experience and all of that, but this is super helpful. And so the steps to do this, I would appreciate having, because I think they would help guide me through my MOKR experience in this part of the journey here, clarifying some of this. So whatever you can do to help support that would be great. I also just want to say, for your own, I want to give you feedback on the kinds of service that you could provide, because I know you guys want to do that. This is so key. And like we heard this morning from Chris, as an example, here are co-ops as an entity, a structure, a form that could really help accelerate regeneration, or permaculture, whatever you want to think of it as, in whatever scale it is. And I work with a lot of portobellos. I work with a lot of big scale stuff. It doesn't know how to market itself. People won't even believe from a rancher who's like incredibly successful in a co-op that this is a successful form. And Chris himself said, yeah, we have a hard time like marketing this. And being able to take this expertise and apply it, something like that is like so crucial for moving all of this forward. So I just want to give you guys a plug to think about it in that way. And I also really appreciate what you're bringing, what Emily brings. And I just want to support you guys because I think this is just so important to this whole community. So thank you. I really appreciate what you just gave. And I realize it's like an old presentation and it's kind of rusty, but it was extremely valuable. And you should polish it up.
Yeah, I need to polish this up. I also need to rebrand it.
You do, because I don't want to go to K, whatever her name's site is, and, you know, figure out my archetype, you know, because
K's great.
you guys should do this.
Bought a lot of stuff from K. So.
Yeah, no, but you guys can do this. I mean, this is, you know, this is really beautiful work. It's like, you know, it's like an extension of my tarot reading. So thank you. So, you know, help me find my archetype in that. But, you know, I kind of know what that is, but apparently I'm a magician. So I want to like, build, you know, I want to take advantage of that. Anyway, thank you.
Very cool. So you went and did your brand archetype quiz, it sounds like.
I did, and I'm like 4 of them. So Emily, I need your help to like make it make sense, right?
And that's why the one that we created actually helps to figure out how to use those.
It's like too many words. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to mute real quick?
Yeah.
So we don't echo. One thing to remember is that we're never just one. It's kind of like with Ayurveda, we're never just one dosha, but we have one dominant one. So definitely like piggyback off that. But the important thing is looking at your top 3, and more importantly, your top 2. But
so what if they're all the same? Like mine were, you know, literally the same percentage for 3 of them.
Then whichever one you, so tell me real quick.
The one that resonates with me?
Yeah.
So yeah, the transformer, the magician. It's the caring, creative magician.
Caring, creative magician. Okay. So did you see the example brands?
Yeah, I didn't get too deep because I was trying to listen to what Joshua was saying, so I didn't go too far with it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
So caring creative, you know, as opposed to this rebellious creative of Apple, you're more engaged emotionally with people, right? And helping through your creative processes and helping them to create, right? And, you know, tie it in with your why. Just kind of it's good to sit and kind of journal on these. I don't want to take up too much time here, but if you guys figure out your archetypes, we could totally like plan one of the meetings if no one's presenting, and we could just like sit and I could help you guys mastermind your archetypes and give you some tips like specifically for you and where you're at. I don't know that I can necessarily open up to like, oh, let's schedule a one-on-one call with everyone. I don't know that I have that bandwidth, but if we could just like do a meeting and we could talk about archetypes for what you guys have specifically, you know, because I think it'd be just a good conversation, because that's what's I kind of wrote in the chat, like when you figure that out, not only is that talking about your personal branding, but that's talking about your website, your colors, your photography. My kind of big thing in it was branding photography with our branding agency. I love like making the photography in your archetypes, and so just giving you guys some tips and things to focus on. If you guys think that would be valuable, we could definitely do.
And if we make that part of our MOKR, like I'm thinking that's where I'm going to focus. I mean, it's clear I need to step back and do that. So, you know, that would be a place to talk about some of those things, right?
Yes, that would be. I would say though, for your MOKR, make sure again that it's objective driven, right? And that it's a tangible thing. And website would be really great. And going back to Ray's point, like you don't have to have all of this figured out. it's kind of like, I need to make a website. Well, what do I need to know, like, to make that website and make it effective? And having the strategy around it and understanding of the strategy is great. But there's some quick ways of doing it without having spent so much time. And one of the biggest things that I'm going to bring up with the website is the people is where you're going to need to spend the most time understanding, right? So you can get a good true north of your archetype and those types of things, and that will come really quickly when you're building out the content for it. But if I'm building it for the wrong person, that's going to be really hard. So we need to do the market research. So one thing that might come in handy beforehand is, even before you have the website, is going and doing the type of market research so that you can actually hit them on a deep level, right? Because you're not going to be able to do that otherwise. Is making sure that you have the market research done. You're going to know who you are, and we're going to define that. That's going to be probably pretty easy for you to do, and write it down. But writing it down is going to be essential. But then being able to do the market research to understand them well enough so you're speaking their language, right? We're over time, but thank you guys so much for joining us for today. I know it was a lot, and I was like debating if I really wanted to drop this bomb on you guys and give you this content, because I know it's a lot. But if you guys have any questions, bring them up in the Slack community and on this specific channel, the MOKR Mastermind channel. And next week we have Andrew. Is it Andrew next week?
Yep. Yep. I'm booked in, ready for it. Cool.
Awesome.
I'll be
And then
more
the
ready
week after
today.
And the week after is Carol. So we got some really cool MOKRs coming up. If you haven't submitted yours, don't worry, but be working on it, right? MP smiles, Ray smiles. So, we will continue with this. For those of you that are watching this as a recording, if you want to know more about the MOKRs, they're in the second video on YouTube to learn how to submit your MOKR and get that started. So you can join us and be a part of the MOKR Masterminds. You don't have to actually have the MOKR submitted to join us, but if you want to have to present your project and do it in a way that's effective, you'll want to watch that second video. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again, and we'll just head up there.
Thanks so much.
Thanks
Josh.
so much.
That's really
Thank you.
fun.
Excellent.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye,
Thanks, Emily.
guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Bye.